I call the member for Nananga.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker, we all know that fires and floods are a fact of life in Queensland, but that doesn't make them any easier to deal with. Last week I saw the heartbreak that flooding has caused across North Queensland, but I also saw the hope of ordinary Queenslanders. With my Deputy Leader and the member for Burdekin, I spent several days visiting flood-hit communities around Townsville. We spent a day in Westbrook Drive in the devastated Townsville suburb of Idalia, where we joined the volunteer clean-up crew led by off-duty soldier Matt Anderson. Matt's own home on the street had gone under, but Matt and his wife Marlene weren't just cleaning up their own place. Together with army nurses and 4 blokes from the Burdekin, they were cleaning up 3 other homes in that street too. We all rolled up our sleeves and we got to work, carrying ruined furniture from homes, sweeping mud from floors, washing away the stench of the flood. It was gut-wrenching to go through the belongings with Carol, who was alone because her husband was in hospital recovering from an operation. Her clothes and a lifetime of possessions being thrown out, even going through with Carol, her treasured photos that all got wet and had to be thrown out. I met with flood victims and Salvo Army volunteers at a Townsville vac centre and met small business owners who'd been flooded out in the devastated town of Garoo. There were tears in Idalia and Garoo and everywhere else we went, but there was also courage and laughter and lots of love too. From my bottom of my heart, I want to thank every volunteer, every emergency service worker, every council worker, every ADF worker, every neighbour who rallied to help their community. They didn't pass the buck when the going got tough. They got stuck in like true Queenslanders, and I thank them all. But the disaster is not over. It is still unfolding in the northwest of Queensland, where an area 3 times the size of Tasmania went under. The losses of cattle and livestock and wildlife are unprecedented. Hundreds of thousands of cattle have perished and livelihoods are being destroyed as we speak. I've spoken to many friends from out that way, Julia Creek, Richmond, Cloncurry, McKinley, they are all hurting. Please let them know, Mr Speaker, we know what they are going through, and our thoughts are with them, and I'm looking forward to visiting that area later this week. Mr Speaker, the LNP has led the call for insurance firms to give Townsville flood victims a fair go. Some residences and businesses who paid their premiums have been repaid by nothing more than tricky tactics. Insurance companies must do the right thing for its customers and communities. While the north and the northwest have been hit by floods, central Queensland was hit by bushfires in late November and December. More than 1 million hectares of land were destroyed. Sadly, we believe mismanagement and bureaucracy worsened those fires. And this week, the LNP will call for a full parliamentary inquiry into the bushfires to ensure that lessons are learned. Mr Speaker, so much else has happened in the last 3 months since this parliament has sat. When the government cancelled parliament in the December sitting, we knew that RTI documents would soon be released regarding the renaming of the Lady Salento Children's Hospital. No wonder the ministers wanted parliament to be shut down to avoid public scrutiny. Labor's plot to rename the hospital was dubious from day one. It was petty, it was pointless, and it was political. And then thanks to the work of determined journalists who destroyed this government's integrity. The Palaszczuk government's online poll was revealed to be massively rigged. Of the 23,000 votes to change the name, 18,000 votes came from just 74 IP addresses, and those addresses belong to the Queensland government. This sly and arrogant government has betrayed democracy, but worst of all, it's betrayed the Queensland public. We expect to see poll rigging in places like Venezuela, but we don't expect to see it right here in Queensland. Voters, Mr Speaker, Deputy Speaker, are sometimes cynical about politicians, but they do believe in democracy, and when they are asked to vote, they expect their vote to be fair. And the Lady Salento vote was not fair, it was a fraud. The Health Minister even admitted that to the Salento family, that a smear campaign had taken place. And last year, Mr Deputy Speaker, the hospital attracted record donations, despite claims the Salento name was putting off donors. What a joke. In fact, Mr Speaker, this government is the one that is putting off the donors. And we've heard philanthropists, Judith and Trevor St Baker, have told the board never to call them again. They will look after children in some other way. Mr Deputy Speaker, but worst of all, the Palaszczuk government is failing patients. We know Labor has lost control of emergency departments that are the front line to our health system. Ambulance ramping is now the norm, and we've seen disgraceful pictures of patients packed into corridors on stretchers. On the Gold Coast, nurses are even paying from their own pockets to give elderly patients hot meals. In Redlands, a doctor has revealed patients wait days in ED before being found to bed. Shame. The AMAQ says flaws in the IEMR system are putting patients in danger. The system has blown out by $256 million, and now the CEO of eHealth Queensland has quit. I wasn't surprised by the resignation of Richard Ashby. The only thing that surprises me is this health minister still has his job. Right. He should have been booted from that position a long time ago. Our nurses and our doctors deserve better leadership, and they deserve better protection too. At the PA hospital, the number of assaults on staff, on nurses, has almost doubled under Palaszczuk's watch in 2018. Almost doubled. Where is the protection for the nurses and the health workers in our health system? Mr Deputy Speaker, it's not only nurses who are being attacked. This summer, we learned about the shocking violence faced by prison guards. We saw police punched in the street and being run over by criminals. And Queenslanders were chilled to the bone when pedophile and rapist Robert John Farden was let free on our streets. Unsupervised, released unsupervised into our community. This monster of a man is now living amongst us, and I hope to God that no woman, no child ever comes to any harm because of this despicable human being and their release. Mr Deputy Speaker, I don't know how the ministers of the Palaszczuk government can sleep at night knowing that this man is free. If they had have worked, if Labor had have worked with the LNP, he would still be under strict supervision. They should be haunted by what Farden has done and what he might do again, because that is how the victims feel. Mr Deputy Speaker, under the Palaszczuk government, violence is increasing, criminal bikie gangs are back in business, and what is Labor's latest plan to protect the public? What is Labor's plan to protect the people of Queensland? One of them is closing Crime Stoppers. They may laugh about the victims. The victims of crime, they may laugh, Mr Deputy Speaker, but closing Crime Stoppers call centre would have to be an absolute shame. Crushing a charity that has helped solve over 25 murderers and has brought thousands of offenders to justice. They won't spend the money on Crime Stoppers, but they'll spend it closing and just shutting down the name of a hospital, Lady Salento Hospital. Palaszczuk's priorities are all wrong. They're totally twisted, and no wonder the people
Members'
of
time has
Queensland
expired.
cannot trust the
Members'
Palaszczuk
time has
government.
expired. Thank you.